had a level playing field, if our taxes were the same, let's say, as they are in Dubai or in the UK or in the US and all such countries. There is a terrific opportunity that we have in India because, the number, as you said, the demand is incredibly strong. Yeah. You start flights today to Pakyong in Sikkim, or you start a flight to Ajmer Sharif, or, name any destination which has not had a flight. Yeah. You fill up the plane within 3 days. You start booking and the plane is full after 3 days. So the demand is there. But we need to get our taxes down. We also need to stop shipping our planes overseas. What's happening is today, because we don't support our own, maintenance MRO providers, all airlines are forced to send their planes outside, which is completely ridiculous because we have the engineers, we have the facilities. There's no reason why we shouldn't be doing this in India. We should be providing the pilots that you spoke about, not only to ourselves, but to the rest of the world. This is, we have young, bright, intelligent, educated people. Yes. We can do much, much more in terms of being an aviation superpower, and we are just not doing as much as we probably should be doing.
Okay, let me get both of you to respond, and I'll start by asking you, Mr. Kant, because now you're also looking after aviation in a sense. In fact, you just got 5 airports up for privatization, and they've got the bids coming in today, and the Adanis have won that. But let me ask you, sir, this is a sector that has been identified as a sunrise sector. We've had the conversation about getting MROs to operate in India for the last several years. The ATF conversation has been happening for the last several years. Why is it that after having identified the problems and the pain points, we still haven't acted?
Shireen, we've acted in a wide range of areas, and one of the reasons why civil aviation is growing by about 20 to 23% plus is simply because a lot of support to the sector has been given, both in terms of infrastructure and otherwise. I think a lot of focus has been done on infrastructure. And as you said, we've just been through another transparent, competitive process. I don't think the results have been announced, unless you know more than all government servants.
I thought that the results are in, sir. For 5, they're in. For Guwahati, it's out tomorrow.
So the bids have come in, and they're being examined and all that. It will go through its process, but it's been a very transparent, competitive process.
So the winner hasn't been announced?
No, not yet. So it goes through a very transparent, competitive bidding process, and I think good thing, it just shows that the huge amount of demand for infrastructure, good infrastructure creation in India. So I think on the issue of taxation, I quite agree that there has to be reasonable level of taxation. And the GST is settling down. We've just had yesterday a major concession on construction, coming down from 12 to 5% on an affordable housing to 1%. But the important thing is, for this country to grow rapidly, GST must grow. We must understand the challenges of the country. If every sector we keep going around giving concessions without the GST settling down, it will be very difficult. But I'm quite confident.
Sir, we are not asking for a concession. No. We are asking to be included in the GST.
That's true.
No, that's simply because we must understand that we are living in a country which is bigger than 24 countries of Europe.
Yes.
I mean, you expect that the central government to take all the decisions. It will not be proper in a federal polity. The states have to be on board in both the case of civil aviation and in the case of petroleum as well. So I think we are there right now. GST is maturing very rapidly, and I think in due course you'll have states also playing ball on this, as they've done in the case of construction industry. And I think it's very important. I quite agree with Ajay, because there's a massive multiplier impact. And it has a huge spin-off in terms of travel and tourism.
And employment. I keep coming back to that. Yes, Mr. Garg, very quickly.
No, I think this is a very right kind of articulation. It gels very well with what I was saying about the competitiveness. We have done quite a lot about ease of doing business.
Yes.
I think we need to now concentrate on cost of doing business. That is where most of the issues which he has raised.
And that's not only going to be the RBI's problem, right? It will also be North Block's problem.
No, this is not at all RBI. This is basically, in a way, another element which is also very costly in India is the interest cost. But we also have power, which is very much costlier than many other countries.
Sure.
the kind of taxes and other duties and levies which he mentioned. So there is a whole lot of issues. We will need to make our businesses competitive.
Yeah.
And for that purpose, we will need to address the cost of doing business.
You know, when this government came to office, the roadmap for corporate tax reduction to 25% was announced. It's been done for a large universe. It hasn't happened as far as the main corporates are concerned. As we look at the next government coming to office, what do you believe is the need of the hour in terms of tax, balancing that with India's competitiveness?
So you see, more than 99% of the corporates have been addressed and the taxes have been brought down to 25%. Some are remaining. Revenue considerations are also important. We need to keep that in mind. But I believe, like what I was saying in the context of the cost, if we can grow businesses, more volume probably can address the fiscal considerations as well.
Yeah.
So those kind of considerations will be important to decide the policy going forward.
Okay, Sunita, let me come to you now, because the other sector that we decided to focus on was the healthcare sector. It's on, don't worry about it. And you know, I'll ask you this in the context of, again, the kind of demand and the kind of headroom for growth that we see for the healthcare sector. The government, of course, has announced the Ayushman Bharat program, which is a very positive step, and we hope that it will build on the momentum. But just look at the numbers as far as healthcare is concerned. 1 nurse for every 1,000 to 2,000 people, 0.7 hospital beds for 1,000 people, the doctor-patient ratio at 79.7 per lakh, which is one of the worst in terms of emerging and developing markets. I mean, the potential for this sector to be a multiplier, again, is significant. What will it take to get it moving beyond where we already are? And a lot of progress has been made, to be fair.
So I think if we were to look at it, what will it take to really get to what the government really wants to do? Even if you look at Ayushman Bharat, you know, there are 3 ways to look at it. One is, how do you define success? Really, the government has created access, but on the same page, it's not really helped create the infrastructure. So we need to look at how do we create infrastructure. The second issue is that we need to look at cost, because the cost structures in India are different from the rest of the world. However, we're doing it at 1/10 of the international cost. And it is becoming more expensive. I would like to mention taxation, just as Ajay said, because we had negative GST, we pay 33% tax, plus we pay customs duty. So delivering healthcare in India is actually very expensive. The third is quality. We came to India so that we could, you know, set up quality of international standards.
Yeah.
So there should be no compromise on clinical outcomes. So the government definitely needs to invest in skilling. And we need to double the number of doctors, triple the number of nurses, and quadruple the number of paramedics. And to do that, they have to allow education, they have to allow the corporatization of medical education, and they have to allow infrastructure status and tax exemptions for healthcare.
But that's a long list of demands for the government, and it's not a new list of demands either. This has been an often repeated list of demands. But you know, a larger question that I want to ask you, Sunita, in the context of healthcare, and not just healthcare services, but India has aspired for a commercial drug discovery for at least the last 2 decades since I've been tracking this sector. China possibly is on the verge of one. If we take a look at R&D spends, less than 1% is what India spends as a percentage of GDP on R&D. It's 2.5% for the US, 2.5% for China, 4% plus for countries like Israel. What is the need of the hour to encourage the private sector? Because everywhere else, it is the private sector that focuses on innovation. What will it take for corporate India to innovate?
So first, I think one level of collaboration. I think we need to work with the government with a sense of trust, so that we know that, you know, that they know what we are capable of, so our clinical outcomes will be good. The second is that we don't do stage 1 and stage 2 clinical trials. So there's very little of research and patents happening out of India. The third, I truly believe, is that, you know, we need to start thinking about how much investable surplus our healthcare companies are making to actually invest into this. And if you